Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by Squarespace, an all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a professional website and now an online store. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code TWiST1. And by Mandrill, the best way to send transactional email from the people who make MailChimp. Sign up today at mandrill.com. And by Amazon Web Services. Get the resources you need to easily get started with AWS Activate, a new global program for startups, including AWS credits, training, developer support, a startup community forum, and special offers from third parties. Learn more and sign up at aws.amazon.com/activate.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis. This is This Week in Startups, the show where we talk about putting a dent in the universe, making great products, the internet, technology, all that kind of great stuff. And on the program today, Michael Heyward is with me. He is the co-founder and CEO of an app called Whisper that you may have heard of or you may not have heard of, but it is getting hugely popular. And he has raised a monster round of venture capital from Sequoia Capital. And it's a great growing company here in Los Angeles. And we're going to hear all about it today on This Week in Startups. Stick with us.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis. This is This Week in Startups, the show where we talk about technology, startup companies, founders, entrepreneurship, putting a dent in the universe, fighting the good fight, trying to build products. Typically these startups, they fail. 7 out of 10 times they fail. That's the statistics. That's the hard, brutal truth of being an entrepreneur. 70% of the time you fail. But there is a corollary to that, which is if you try 3 or 4 times, you're guaranteed to be successful, or almost guaranteed. I mean, you'd have to be really bad. That'd be like taking 5 free throws and missing all 5. And so what we've learned from this show and doing over 400 episodes, this is episode 411, is that the entrepreneurs that win are the ones who are the most dogged, resilient, and have the most grit. That is the reoccurring theme. And every week we interview a founder. Sometimes it's a new company. Sometimes a founder who's very well known and has been in the business for 20 years. And we just sort of get into it, why they built what they built, what they're building. You can follow us on Twitter at TWI Startups, TWI, as in This Week in Startups. And you can follow me, the host, Jason Calacanis, simply by following at Jason on Twitter. Yes, I have that. That's a vanity Twitter handle. I'm showing off a little bit. The Launch Festival's coming up, San Francisco, February 24th, 25th, and 26th. And there's actually a hackathon on the 22nd and 23rd. I've been hosting this will be the 7th year. Great companies have launched there. You may have heard of Dropbox, Mint, Yammer, Fitbit, Room 77, Brilliant, Space Monkey, Red Beacon, all these others. And you can go register right now, festival.launch.co, festival.launch.co. Or if you go to launch.co, you can... At launch.co, you'll see in the navigation all our different events and everything in the launch ticker. Okay, on the program today, Michael is with us, Michael Heyward. He is the co-founder and CEO of Whisper, which is a hugely popular, maybe 4 or 5 billion page views a month app, which allows you to share your secrets. Would you say that's a good description? That's like what it looks like on the surface.
Yeah, no, definitely.
There's a lot more going on.
There's definitely a lot more going on, but I think like any founder, when an outside party describes their company, they're probably always cringing, oh, that's not the exact positioning of the company. Yeah. But essentially, that's a large component of it.
And let's take a look at it, just so people, picture is worth 1,000 words. Here we are in the app. I'll pull it up. Oh, look, wow, you can see, that's a great view. Well done, Brandis. You got the two of us and the app on the same page. That's really professional looking. See that?
Absolutely.
Year 5, 411 episodes in, it gets professional. We're doing really well now.
It only takes like 410.
410, yes. This is actually excellent. So here we see nearby, featured, and latest. But what are the people seeing there? Those pictures with the text on them. What are those?
So those are actual whispers.
Okay.
Right? So Whisper it's an anonymous social networking service, right? Mm-hmm. The whole idea is when you kind of look at all of these existing social platforms out there, whether it be Facebook or Instagram or even something like LinkedIn, right? These are all identity-based networks, and generally, like when we're talking about ourselves or from our own vantage point. We want to look good in front of other people, right? So I was in front of a large group of college students a couple weeks ago, probably at least 100 freshmen in the room. And I said to everyone in the room, I walk in, start talking about Whisper, and I say, can everyone in the room please raise your hand if you're a virgin, right? And now nobody raised their hand. And I said, okay, here's what we're going to do.
It's a pretty promiscuous school.
No, I mean,
joking.
that's, well, what happened next is much more interesting. So I said, after I asked that question in front of everyone else, I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm turning off all the lights now, and I'm blindfolding everybody. Now I'm going to ask the same question again. Who here in the room is a virgin, right? And about 30% of the hands in the room go up, right? And this
Wait, did you literally turn the lights out?
Yeah, I literally did this. So, but this is something like I, kind of have thought about this idea and this concept a long time, right? Like when, essentially imagine that we're like all living in this tabloid culture now, right? Like you're at Jason, you have this vanity Twitter handle, you're so cool, like everything that you tweet and it's part of this one consistent image, right? Because everyone else is essentially watching. Essentially like we're all, and not even you, because you have, somewhat of a high profile. Now imagine though, that you're a 18-year-old senior at some, high school in Alabama, and you're like the captain of the football team, right? Or just some regular kid. You also have a fan base of, maybe 1,000 people, right? So essentially, everything that you're always doing, you're always curating,
right?
In
You've
front
always
of
got to
these
be on,
group, exactly,
and kind of keep up this profile. Which, in a way, do you think that was part of the strength of Facebook?
Oh, totally.
Was that, the internet before that had been anonymous, nobody trusted it, and on Facebook, you can't have a pseudonym. You're not allowed to. They will shut your account down. And so people who have nicknames like Violet Blue, the sex columnist, she was going to have her, handle turned off on Facebook, I remember, because of that. Yep. But we lost something there, didn't we?
Well, it's all cause and effect, right? So this is like where the pendulum is going. Wayne Gretzky has that great quote about skating to where the puck is going, not to where the puck is. So just like you said, like you actually hit the nail on the head. Web 1.0 was anonymous by default because there was no social layer, right? But do you remember all those that like Dateline, To Catch a Predator, and all this stuff that had like a very negative connotation of it? Yeah. You remember like those images of like with the dark room with the guy behind the computer and like, do you know who your kid is talking to? Right. So as a result of that, and MySpace was on the very, very, very tail end of that, and a lot of people will say that one of the reasons why, MySpace lost for a lot of reasons, but one of them was because they didn't fully embrace single identity, right? And they kind of had this pseudonymity. But as a reaction to that Web 1.0, right, like you said, everyone went hardcore, single identity, all the way to the other side, right? And that's why, you see like every song you listen to on Spotify is published into your stream, and every, article you read on
even that is becoming creepy. It's like, completely. I don't want people to know this much about me.
Like, I don't want like people knowing I listen to Taylor Swift. Right. Although,
that's a fair point.
Taylor Swift, she's a good recording artist. Like, why am I not allowed to like that? Like, no, but and this is one of the things that we see on Whisper all the time. Really? Like, one of my favorite Whispers, there's a post that this guy put. He said, I'm scared that my headphones are going to fall out at the gym, and everyone's going to hear that I'm listening to T Swift. I'm a dude, right?
Well, here, let's look at the app so people can see this, because it really is becoming artistic. So if I click on this one, it says, well, there you go. My first lesbian experience was at church camp. And on the bottom here, 7,467 hearts, which would be likes, I guess, in your world, 480 shares at church.
Replies.
Oh, I'm sorry, replies.
People can reply back to that. So
okay.
Just tap this.
And then if I...
go to, maybe swipe to the next one.
Yeah. Took this photo today. This is not a date. I wish I could read a book filled with every lie I've ever told. So this is like really people... I just got home, obviously a person in the military. Yeah. I'm a stripper, but it's the only way I can pay for grad school. Not sorry. So these are really like hardcore, like confessions in a way, like really heartfelt, like something that's on somebody's mind that they would not tweet.
Correct. Right. And I think
it's kind of addicting to just sit here and go through them.
Yeah.
And I just pissed on one of these things, and it says I'm pregnant, but I'm a dude. This is what happens when you do live, anonymous things. But it is becoming well, here's an incredible one. This is why the app's so popular. My secret: I've cheated on every boyfriend I've had with the man I'm going to marry now.
Yeah.
Wow, heavy stuff. Life is too short to waste time matching socks. Funny. I think my boyfriend's trying to get me pregnant. I caught him poking holes in his condoms last night. He doesn't know I know. What do I do? Wow. Interracial marriage should be legal. Yeah, that's what you sound like when you oppose gay marriage. Or should be illegal. I wish boys could realize that muscles and abs are not everything. So you get this like incredible sharing, but it doesn't end there. People wind up meeting each other based on this, right?
Right. So like those are all replies back to that, right?
So, and what is this format? Because I remember there was a website called Post Secret or something that people sent in postcards with confessions on it.
So the reason why, Whisper is all, every Whisper is an image with text on top of it is because Whisper is all about these internal things, right? So thoughts, feelings, emotions, experiences. It's not about this external, look at me, I'm sitting floor seats at the Laker game, or sitting next to Bob
Kim
Iger,
Kardashian or whatever,
or whatever, right? So by marrying text on top of image, you're able to convey something on a deeper level, right? Something that is beneath the surface.
Got it.
And really allowing you to kind of feel empathetic to that person, right?
But in a way, inspired by Post Secret, you must have seen that.
I'm a big fan of Post Secret, definitely, right?
Yeah, Post Secret was you mail in a postcard.
Post Secret was you mail in a postcard, right? Whereas Whisper is a lot more focused around actual relationship building and social interaction. And so if you see, you can actually private message those other people within the app off of one of those Whispers, or you can reply back with another Whisper.
Yeah, so here somebody said, no way, I did that too. We've been married for 4 months now.
Right.
So you were cheating on him all the time then.
Yeah. Now, if you now toggle the Chrome there, you can then, if you see, like, you can private message those people. Like,
and that's where it gets interesting. So how would I then, how do you chat with the person?
So just tap anywhere. Tap
I see.
Direct message.
There you go. And that's where this gets interesting, is that people actually meet each other here on the service. And you can do that also by nearby. So here on the top level,
or
you
go
get
to
the
the
latest
search function. Go to the search function.
Okay.
Now go search. Let's search. Where'd you go to college?
I went to Fordham.
Okay, so search Fordham. Now, no, press the. That's the wrong.
Okay.
Fordham. Yeah. Always whenever you're doing a live demo, nothing
that's cool.
works properly. So do the do topics Fordham.
There you go, Fordham University. Wow. So these are all people who are at Fordham.
Yeah, this is the wrong. Anyway.
But it's still cool.
Yeah.
You're saying that at college campuses, people.
Okay, it's fine. If you type in there, just do Fordham one word, and then do the show more. Don't tap the university.
Okay.
Just do the.
Places?
Or do the place, Fordham University.
There we go.
Perfect. Anyway.
So these would be things that happened at Fordham University in that vicinity? What's a popular college as opposed to the college I went to?
They're all.
Which one's got the most usage, you think? Stanford?
No, I mean, do...
UCLA?
No, I'd say maybe type in Ohio State University, maybe.
So
just the top one.
Got it.
So this is actually a brand new feature that we just rolled out.
And so these are all the people at Ohio State who are doing this?
Sort of, yeah.
So this feature up here, though, seems to be the one that is...
search by, just do OSU and just search by topic.
OSU?
Yeah, OSU, right.
Okay.
And now, just topic OSU right there.
Got it.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So
there's a bunch of people. Wow, that's a lot. So
so basically, here's the thing about Whisper is that we don't. We see it as a communication medium, right? Like when you hear executives from Twitter talking about their business, they talk about it very often in the same way as a communication medium, right? So really, like we view Whisper very much in the same way, whereas I think different mediums have different core attributes that lend themselves to different use cases, right? So like it's like whether it be the telephone or SMS or Twitter, like what do you use the telephone for? Well, you use it to like call your parents, you use it to have job interviews, sometimes you use it to call a restaurant and see what time they close. So like our equivalency to 140 characters is that we're anonymous, right? Like
Right.
that is actually our like core attribute. It's not like text on top of image. So what do people use an anonymous communication medium for? They use it like for sharing secrets. They use it for dating. They use it for meeting new people. They use it for getting advice. They use it for asking questions. They use it for seeing what's going on in a particular geo. There's literally
Geo
like,
being geolocation.
Yeah.
Hey, so when we get back from the commercial break, let's talk about location-based meeting people and all that kind of stuff, because that seems to be like, when you start to dig into Whisper or some of these other services, that seems to be what a lot of people like to use it for, is to meet new people. When we get back from this commercial break. Hey, Squarespace is offering 24-hour support 7 days a week for exceptional-looking websites. I use it here for the Launch Festival and a bunch of other things that we build. It's easy. It's 24-hour support. It's constantly improving. And like I said, we use it. It works. One of the great things is it's responsive. So if you know when you build a website, or somebody in your family asks you to build a website and you build them a WordPress or a static website or a Drupal, it may not work then when you go on your mobile phone. Well, they build all of their templates at Squarespace to work responsive design, which means it works on every device you try. And they have a new layout engine, which is just super powerful. And there's tons of people making templates for it, so you can always find a Squarespace consultant who wants to build you a custom template, or you can just use one of their hundreds and hundreds of templates. You can try it for free, no credit card required, starts at only $8 a month. And if you decide to keep it, use the code TWiST1 and you will get a discount. Squarespace is everything you need to create an exceptional looking website, and they're celebrating 10 years as a company. Happy anniversary to the team over there. What a great product. And like I said, I'm super happy it exists, because when people tell me like, hey, I got to make a website, like my brother Josh now has Calacanis Electric, and he's installing Nests all over the Northeast, and he's an electrician and a fireman, and this is like his new business. And I'm like, he needs a website for Calacanis Electric and home automation. So we're going to build a Squarespace. Like literally what I was working on yesterday was helping my brother get on Squarespace so he could build his website and spend like $8 a month running it, as opposed to hiring somebody for $3,000 to do it, and his website will look great. Okay, listen, thanks Squarespace. Everybody thank @Squarespace. So location is a big part of this. Are people meeting each other on these services? I mean, it seems pretty clear that this nearby feature is a pretty killer feature.
Yeah, people meet every single day.
Yeah.
Right? All day. I think that's really the true power of the internet, is this ability to connect people, right? Because most of the people in the world we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you think about how many people we actually know, we know a very, very small number of those people. So this ability to just kind of reach out and connect with people all over the world around these shared experiences is really powerful, right? So we're really connecting people around.
So in that way, do you find that, is it a dating service in that way, a hookup service, or all of the above? Like, how do people use it? Is it like Whisper there's one group of people using it to sort of share like these secrets, and it's like a content play, and then another group that are using it for dating?
Well, I think that's one of the really interesting things about Whisper, is that we do kind of have this really amazing content component, right? And then on the other hand, we're also, doing a lot of really cool social discovery stuff, right? Of people actually, which is just a fancy word for making new friends.
Got it. This is your first company?
This is my first company, yeah.
And when did you start it?
So almost 2 years ago.
And why did you start it? Like, what was the origin story? Was there like, not the PR origin story, like the, like made up one, but like what was the like real moment you said like this needs to exist in the world, and why? Were you using something? You saw Post Secret, obviously, were inspired a little bit.
So I was working
at
another company in Los Angeles in Santa Monica, a company called TWiST. And the CEO of TWiST, Brad Brooks, is actually my co-founder on Whisper. Cool. But basically, I just felt that all of my friends' lives were not really nearly as good as they were portraying them to be.
Got it.
And I felt like there was this huge white space of all of this stuff that people think but don't really share, right? And I felt that, all of these identity-based social networks were really having a very, negative impact on society and a lot of our interpersonal relationships and our self-esteem and the way that we feel about ourselves.
Why is that? Because people are faking it, or they're trying to keep up appearances?
No, I think what happens is that people don't do a good enough job with themselves, understanding that everything that you're looking at is just a highlight reel of what everyone else wants you to see, right? So you end up actually thinking that, and this is especially the case with young people, right? People going through adolescence, is that they think that that is indicative of what's really going on with that person. So like, oh, I'm on summer vacation. You see an album on your Facebook called Summer Vacation, and you're like having fun, and you're jet skiing, and you're like here, and you're traveling, and you're on boats, and all this kind of stuff. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh my God, my summer vacation sucked. My parents were getting divorced. This girl I was texting stopped texting me back, blah, 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 so on and so forth, right? And I think that being inundated with all of this amazing stuff of everyone else's lives can sometimes really make you feel more disconnected.
It's like that Royals song, right? What's the song?
What's
the song? Lord, Royals.
They're like, we
Royals
don't
by
want you.
Lord.
We're not. Yeah, they're like
gold teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Private
they're like,
jets,
yeah,
Cristal,
exactly,
bottles.
exactly. And the thing about that is that the way that we form opinions about ourselves is always it's in how we see ourselves in relation to everyone else.
Yeah,
Like,
and the opposite is true too, right? Like we see like Pinker's book on like Better Angels about like. We see all the bad news in the news constantly.
Exactly.
So, like, if you listen to the news, you would think people are being murdered on every street corner, and it's like chaos out there, and it's the purge.
100%.
But in reality, the murder rate has just plummeted over the last, couple of thousand years for humanity. We started at like cavemen and Games of Thrones, and now we're like, very rare.
Well, it's all about our reference, and that's how we form our opinions. So it's like, how do I know that I'm tall? Because you're short. Like, that's how I know, right? It's all about my reference.
Yeah.
So like, that's why that Virgin story is so powerful, because it's like, we have people that come on Whisper and they're like, I've never even kissed a girl and I'm 20, right? And then all of these people write back and they're like, me too. I'm in the same boat. But in that guy's mind, he was the only one on the entire planet because he had no reference from which to know that anyone else was like that. He'd never heard that. He'd never seen any of his friends say that.
So how do you, like a lot of entrepreneurs are watching this program going, wow, this guy's 26. He raised money from Sequoia Capital, the #1 venture capital firm, from Roelof Botha, who was like the #1 guy over there now, the up-and-comer. I mean, Michael Moritz and Doug, obviously, are the big fish.
And then also,
there,
I don't want to exclude, we also, really lucky, our previous investor, Lightspeed Venture Partners, and Jeremy Liu.
Who's a great guy too.
Been one of my biggest cheerleaders from day one.
But how did you get from? I mean, obviously you worked at another startup, so that was great for you. You were just an employee of that startup. Were you a developer?
No,
or?
I was an employee.
What did you do though? Developer, designer, UX? What would you do?
I did product and marketing.
So you spin this? Did you spin it out of there? Or you just started? You spun it out. Yeah. So how did you? That started you on second base though in terms of like business. Now you knew the previous guy was mentoring you, I guess.
Yeah.
But putting the mentoring aside and obviously getting some good connections, which is smart, you had growth. How did you get this tremendous growth, and what are the growth statistics for Whisper today?
Yeah. So I think we just really focus on keeping it simple, right? Like, we had this idea for this product that we wanted to launch, and the original idea was way more complicated and had a lot more features and all of these different things. Like, we didn't have the ability to private message. There wasn't even a settings button in the app. It didn't exist, right? So we just were constantly thinking, okay, what can we get rid of? What can we get rid of? What can we get rid of? And I think this is one of the biggest mistakes, and like this term MVP, it's almost like the word love in that it's overused.
Minimal viable product.
Right, and so it loses its gravitas, I think. But it's something that cannot be overemphasized, right? Like, simple is really hard. Anyone can do complicated and add this and do that and we need
if you're looking at Facebook today and you just start building every feature they have, you'll have enough work to keep you busy for a decade.
Exactly.
But you built something simple and elegant. How did you know which piece would be the most popular?
Well, I think like anything, we just figured out. I guess a lot of it was intuition, some of it's luck, and then really hard work, right? Not to sound like self-serving, but it's just like work 24 hours a day.
Right.
And,
So how did you get growth? I mean, growth hacking is a big, a big meme these days, and growth is what it's all about. I was just talking to one startup which had 2 people, and they hired 3 new people. 1 was in sales and 2 were in growth. So they're they're like a 40% growth company, as it were. What were the tricks or the techniques? Because obviously this stuff is super viral. So what do you do? Just hire 100 college kids to start doing it on their campus and showing it to their friends, street teams?
Well, no, actually, what's really amazing about Whisper is that we're not building on top of another graph, right? So there's no Find Friends features.
But you can't share it on Twitter.
You can share the content out,
Yeah,
right?
because that you do see a lot, right? People are putting these on Tumblr. They use it as a creation tool in a way.
Yeah, they do. But that's where the majority of our new users come from, is from people actually seeing the content, right? Like, we're very, very focused on distributing the content and getting the content from Whisper outside of Whisper, right? And that's kind of where the new users really come from. It's these like, not unlike Twitter in the early days, where it was very this kind of like people talking about Twitter, but talking about specific things, right? So they'd be like, oh, you have to see Miley twerking, or like there would, remember there's like this Ashton Kutcher versus like Anderson Cooper, or somebody.
Whoever can get to Larry King, whatever. Whoever can get to the largest number of followers.
Exactly. Or like, it was Bin Laden. They caught Bin Laden, but it broke first on Twitter, right? So we're constantly, kind of packaging up these little storylines that are going on Whisper all the time,
right?
And syndicating those out.
Got it. How do you syndicate those out? You just know who like the cool bloggers are and send them the funny ones, or
a lot of them use
feed?
The product. We just brought on a really senior editorial
tell me about
guy.
that. You hired the person responsible for 70% of the page views, 80% of the page views.
Over 90% of the page views.
Over 90% of the page views on Gawker, which is one of the largest sites.
Yeah.
Nietzsche Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Well, like Bob Dylan, Zimmerman. Yeah. But he's an editorial guy.
Yeah. So
and now he's going
us
to
as our editor-in-chief.
So you're a communications platform adding an editor-in-chief. So isn't that what newspapers have, editors-in-chief? And you're like Snapchat or Facebook, you're a social network. Why do you have an editor-in-chief?
Well, we're a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
So it's not unlike LinkedIn's content strategy, or actually Twitter does a lot of editorial curation.
They do?
They have people within each vertical. Like, they have someone who does sports. They have someone, you get like discover what's going on Twitter. You get those emails that curate different tweets.
So they have a human at that discovery feed. You think is like human curated or not algorithm?
I mean, we rely on algorithms as well, but I don't think there's no algorithm that can replace good taste.
Right.
And I think
so the algorithm serves it up, and then somebody with good taste picks the best.
Yeah. Now, again, like, what's one of the things that is exciting to me, about Whisper, and exciting to, I think, everyone else, is that we have this, like, it's really a privilege, actually, to be able to tell these stories that no one else is talking about, right? So the amount of posts that we see from soldiers in Afghanistan who say things like, this is my third tour back to Afghanistan. Sometimes I hope that I don't come back home because I still can't sleep at night, right? Like, referencing
like
PTSD,
sure.
right? So, like, and then if you see the stats on, suicides of U.S. war vets, it's crazy. It's literally 140 every single week, right? And so you can look that up. That's a real stat. Like, why is that not on the cover of the New York Times every single day until, like, we start making more radical changes,
right.
Around, not sending, like, soldiers into combat so many times over and over and over again, right?
Right. So there's going to be trends that will bubble up because of the anonymity from
this
people's
happens
heart.
every single day, right? So, again, I'll give you another example. I remember when the thing with the Boston bomber happened.
Sure.
Immediately on Whisper, when they caught the Boston bomber and they released his photo, we had all of these young females that would come on and post things like, I think he's really hot, I feel bad, but blah, blah, blah. And then we get all these replies being like, you're crazy, or it's a conspiracy, he didn't do it, or this or that, or whatever, right? But then if you recall, like 2 months later, Rolling Stone magazine actually put the Boston bomber on the cover.
Right.
It came under a lot of heat, around that.
Yeah, because he's very good looking,
right.
And it was a selfie.
Exactly.
And he looks like a young Bob Dylan.
Exactly.
Or he looks like a young,
exactly.
Whatever, rock star.
Exactly.
And they're like, oh, you're making him into a hero.
So, but that's not something that people attach to their identity, right? And that they say immediately right away,
Right.
So I know, like, Eric Schmidt talks about the amount of exabytes that are being created now every 3 days. I think there's a stat, like, so from the beginning of time to 2000, there was, like, the same amount of data that we're now creating every 3 days, right? And that's because Web 2.0 and it's all the social, all the user-generated content. Now, imagine all of that user-generated content is tied to users' personal identity, right? So it's very kind of tilted. It's what we want everyone to think, right? Whereas this is at scale, this is completely anonymous.
All right.
So it's very differentiated.
When we get back from the final commercial break, I want to talk to you about how you deal with bad behavior on the system, because it's anonymous, and obviously we have things like 4chan and Reddit where things can get very ugly very fast. So when we get back from commercial break, how you deal with insanity in an anonymous environment. Hey, Mandrill, thank you for making great transactional email. What's transactional email? That's the email you get from Whisper after you sign up for Whisper app, and it says, hey, you're in the system, or you got a friend request, or you got a notice, or somebody responded to your Whisper, or somebody did a follow-up, or you got an instant message, all that kind of stuff, a direct message. And transactional email is really hard to do well. That's why there's a service like Mandrill, because they have servers all over the world. They do real-time analytics, and they get past all of those spam filters and all the defenses that the Yahoo mails and the MSN mails, Hotmails, AOL mail, Gmails, everything. They've built up all these defenses to keep out spam. Well, when they keep out spam, transactional emails, important emails, the lifeblood of startups, frankly, can get left behind, and that's why you need a partner like Mandrill who can get through all those defenses. Super easy to get started. We use it for all the emails we do over here, and it's from the good people at MailChimp, by the way, Mandrill. And we use it for the hackathon and everything. Pricing is ridiculous. These guys are just way too generous over at Mandrill, and also MailChimp. First 12,000 emails a month are free. After that, you pay on usage. But you're not going to pay like a $5,000 a month ransom like some of these other companies are trying to get you to do. Sign up for 3 years at $5,000 a month. Nope, you pay as you go. So go sign up at mandrill.com. And let's all thank @Mandrill app on Twitter. And oh, by the way, there's no feature gating. All the features are available for all users, whether they're paying or not. Okay, so you got an anonymous service, and we've seen how that's gone on 4chan or Reddit. When people have anonymity, plus like some people, death threats, rape threats, just horrible content. How do you deal with that? Because I've been in the app a bunch of times, and you'll see racy stuff. People say very provocative stuff. But I've never seen porn in the app, as an example, or I don't think I've seen hate speech. But how would you deal with somebody who says, like, if I said, I hate this type of person and I grew up a racist. Now, is that, and I used a bad word, for a certain group of people. How would you deal with that? Because, you do have this thing where you want to promote people expressing themselves, and they're like these very raw emotions and feelings. Maybe racism is something they feel or something. Do you ban them for that, or what do you do? So
there's a great Spider-Man quote that I talk about with our employees all the time, and that's, with great power comes great responsibility.
Absolutely.
This is something that Peter Parker's uncle told him.
That's right.
And,
Uncle Owen.
Yeah, exactly. Good memory. So
Uncle Owen.
Anonymity is a really powerful tool, right? And we look at it like a tool, not unlike a hammer or a chainsaw, right? Now think about all the great things you can do with a hammer.
Right.
You can build temples, schools, churches, clinics, right? You could also kill somebody with a hammer.
Right.
We have a very, very simple rule as it relates to anonymity. We only allow you to use it to protect yourself and never to hurt anyone else ever, right? So before a single line of code was even written on Whisper, we built out an entire back-end admin that is, really, really, really sophisticated, right? And basically, what it allows us to do is really make sure that this is always a safe place, because that is like public enemy number one to me.
Right.
Is that making sure that this is a safe place, because ultimately you're asking people to make themselves very vulnerable, right? And
but you can't have somebody reviewing every single Whisper if you've got, I don't know how many a day are being posted now, but I'm going to guess hundreds of thousands or millions, maybe.
So
you have 5 billion.
Here's what
how
we
many
do.
page views do you have a month? 5 billion? What's the numbers on this?
No, the number of page views we have is about 3.5 billion
per month.
Yeah.
And so that's like Tumblr-esque in the early days or the mid days, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of on the same trajectory.
Average, again, our average user is spending 30 minutes a day on the platform.
Wow.
So I think like the number of mobile services that do that, you can count them on like less than 2 hands.
Right.
So we, again, like our singular focus has always been from the very beginning, making sure that this is a place of authenticity, that this is a place of acceptance, this is a place of compassion, because ultimately that's what we're trying to do.
So how do you police that?
So how do we do that,
Yeah,
right? It's a good question.
Give me the technique.
We have tons of things that we do algorithmically around just like word recognition and speech recognition. So, for example, if you were to post something on Whisper being like, Michael Heyward is a loser, right? Who is never gets laid or cheated and blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
That wouldn't even post live. It would go into a pre-approval queue, right? So we have actually close to 100 people in the Philippines that moderate, hundreds of thousands of images a day, what we put in front of them.
Right.
Now, they're never running more than 30 seconds delay. Right. And the reason why that time stat is so important to me, like I never want to be looking at content that's 15 minutes old.
Right.
If something is 15 minutes old, that means it's already been seen by a tremendous amount of people, right? And the way, if you study, I spent a lot of time thinking about how like Rudy Giuliani, his whole broken windows theory, right?
Yeah.
We're like, if this feels like a safe place, then people will treat it like a safe place. Like if you ever, when you read about these, terrorist cells that they catch, it's always like they find out it's like 3 people, and that's it, right? So the amount of bad actors that we have on Whisper is actually really, really, really small. The most important thing is that you, kind of neutralize them very, very, very quickly, right? Because otherwise, if people start to feel like, oh, this is a place for bullying, this is a place to be mean, this is a place for pornography, that's kind of what happens when, with like chat roulette or kind of all of these other different things. Once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's incredibly difficult to put it back in.
You have an added concern, though, because people are meeting each other in the real world.
Yeah.
And like Scout had maybe 3 people met on Scout and there was rapes or something involved. You guys have something happened where somebody got raped
who
met on the service. And Craigslist has had this happen many times. Airbnb had a house trashed. So any company that's operating in the real world has to deal with these things that eventually happen.
Well, I think any service
that?
That's connecting people, these things happen on the telephone. They happen on SMS. They happen on carrier pigeon or Instagram or anything that's facilitating communication. Right. Unfortunately, sometimes there are a few bad apples out there in the world. Right.
And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, people meet on the service. If bad things happen after that, like on a dating service or on your service, is there anything you can do? I mean, you do know the IP address of the person, I suppose. You could give to law enforcement, but that's about it, right? Location, maybe?
We, obviously, we comply with all, legal requests, and we certainly get legal requests, right? If you're not getting legal requests, it means you're not at a scale that's of any interest, and frankly, you and I wouldn't be talking, I wouldn't be on the show, right?
Right, exactly. Nobody's using it.
Exactly. Right. So, what's more important to me is that this is a place that people are never made to feel bad about themselves, that people are not bullied,
all right?
Right?
So putting that aside, though, should people meet people offline that they meet on Whisper? And what is your best practice for that? Because this is a serious issue of if people meet on a service that's anonymous, you don't know if that person's a rapist or a killer or what's going on. Just like when you meet somebody anonymously in a bar, you don't. So what should the best practice be? What do you tell people? Do you warn them like, hey, if you meet somebody on here, be careful? Like, I know it sounds like obvious advice, but what age limit is there for the service, and then how do you
First of all,
the
service is 17 and over only, right?
It's hard to police that, though.
It's difficult to police that, although we actually do, right?
So how do you do that?
We filter out people who talk about being underage, and then we remove those accounts from the platform, right? So, and we even do things like if somebody talks
about... Wow, that's kind of like a high benchmark. So if people are talking about high school, you'll take them off the platform.
If somebody talks about failing their driver's test, we take them off the platform even.
Wow.
Right? And I think that...
So people could get caught in that, get kicked off the platform who actually were 25 and taking their driver's test. You could get a couple of false positives.
I'd rather err on the side of keeping it a safe platform. Yeah. Right? Like that's my number one. Again, like this, is a safe place. Right.
So this is not something for kids, in your mind.
Would you let a kid play with a power saw?
Exactly. I was refreshing to hear you say this because there was another company called Scout that was doing anonymous stuff, and 3 people were raped after using the service, and they were all 12-year-old boys. 2 of them were 12-year-old and 13-year-old boys, and one was a 14-year-old boy. And they had set their age, I think, at 13 or something.
Our age is 17 and over.
Yeah,
right?
so
and
I
we
think
actually do police it, and not just because it's the right thing for the business, but actually morally it's the right thing to do as well. Right. And I think this is one of the challenges that a lot of people traffic is like a drug, and people become addicted to it, right? And no company is a lot of companies are not willing to make short-term sacrifices ever for the long-term stability of the business, right? But like sometimes you need to cut off the hand to save the rest of the arm, right? And really,
because you could really goose page views if you let 13 and 14 and 15-year-olds on the service and encourage them and market it to them.
Of course.
But you just say, hey, let's just start at college. Is that the idea? Seniors, college, whatever.
Yeah, and frankly, that audience is a lot more fickle. And they kind of jump from platform to platform. Additionally, there's no good use case that can come out of 12 and 13-year-olds at a middle school talk using Whisper at middle school, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're going to wind up talking to adults, and that's just not a great thing.
They wind up talking to adults, and then also, that's an issue that you could probably solve. You could probably overcome that and kind of quarantine it and do all kinds of different things.
Yeah, you could have an under 17 Whisper and an over 17
You could
Whisper.
do that.
Yeah.
My greater concern actually is that kids can sometimes be mean to each other, and I don't want this to ever be a place where some kid comes on there and they're like, she's a fat,
whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rules are on this show about
I
cussing.
mean, you can.
But just say these really mean, horrible things.
And then, cyberbullying is a huge thing, and that anonymity plus cyberbullying plus putting an image in a different
that's
color
my bigger
font.
concern, to be honest.
Yeah. Because that would happen on a much greater scale.
Parents are usually pretty good at teaching their kids, hey, don't talk to adults or people you don't know or or whatever. Yeah. My greater concern is that kids go on there and would then use that.
Yeah,
and that's where you see things like Ask FM. You see things like FormSpring.
Yeah, those services, did they wind up getting shut down over that? I think, what was the other? Juicy Campus?
Juicy Campus.
Juicy Campus. These are just services that were designed for anonymity to brutalize other people.
Right.
It's like their core design functionality was like, let's find somebody and absolutely annihilate them anonymously online. And they could be one person with 5 different accounts, with sock puppets just absolutely railing on one person to the point which they commit suicide.
It's horrible, right? Yeah. And it's like, that's the opposite of what Whisper's all about, and the opposite of what we built on Whisper, frankly. Right. We have people come on here and they're like, I wish all these really things that are just that they've never told anybody. Can you imagine? Some kid, I was reading a post yesterday that a kid posted saying, I wish I was straight so my parents would love me again, right? Nobody should ever feel that way, right? And the fact that that guy can't say that anywhere else in the world, but Whisper, that's not okay. That's not a world that I want to live in, right? And Whisper is all about saying hey, whoever you are is totally okay, right? And that's why from the very beginning, we launched a nonprofit organization before we had any scale. We were very, very, very small. Probably before
what does
we even had
do?
25,000 users, we launched this. And it's called Your Voice, right? So if you go to your-voice.org, you can read all about it. But basically, we work to reduce stigma around mental health issues on college campuses, right? Because we have people sometimes who post things like, I want to kill myself, right?
How do you deal with that? I mean, if the people in the Philippines see a suicide note or somebody, I want to kill myself, what do you do?
So whenever somebody talks about wanting to do something with specific, unfortunately, we live in the real world, right? We don't live in this utopian, amazing world where everyone has no problems and everyone's perfectly happy, right? So in the real world, sometimes people are sad, and sometimes people feel that life is so overwhelming and so much that they don't even want to go on living, anymore, right? So instead of saying hey, let's sweep this under the rug, this is not to be talked about because, you're weird and creepy and whatever, say, here, Whisper, again, it's this place where we allow authentic discussion. So when a user posts that, we watermark the post so like the post gets removed, actually. Only the person who posted it can now see the new version. But it has to have specific intent. Like I'm going to
kill myself, not I feel suicidal sometimes.
Right, exactly.
Because that might just be a confession that
exactly.
every human at some point in their life feels desperate.
50%.
50%.
Right. Of college students. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's not like, and that's the thing, is that people have this idea that it's like some weird little stigma of this tiny little population, right? But that's 1 in 2. So that's not even like somebody's brother or uncle or sister or cousin. That's like me or you, one or the other, right?
Yeah. Flip a coin.
Yeah. So, but what we do is like, so the post gets watermarked, and it links to the suicide hotline, and then you can also visit Your Voice, where you can get specific resources for your campus or your area, and talk to somebody there. So we also donate money to different counseling centers on campus, and then also like clubs on campus can like get funding for us for different like events. Because like one of the things, I think one of the problems with and again, I never went to college, right? So
really?
Everything I'm talking about
high school dropout. You finished high school at least?
Barely. Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah. I know. I didn't.
You grew up here in LA?
I grew up here in LA in Santa Monica. Yeah, I went to Crossroads High School.
You went to Crossroads?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty legit school.
Yeah.
Did you go? Was Baron Davis there, or is he a little older?
Baron is older.
Baron's older,
but I saw Baron.
For people who don't know, he's being a little humble. Crossroads is like one of the hardest schools to get into, but it's very artistic, like teaching people to think outside the box kind of school.
Yeah,
like I looked at it for my daughter.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the. I was just talking about this with somebody yesterday. Like one of the most important lessons that I learned at Crossroads is, about just being compassionate towards other people.
Oh yeah.
It's they really place a really big emphasis on it.
Yeah. You didn't feel the need to go to college? You were just like, college, whatever?
No, it wasn't quite like that. I wanted to take a break.
Right?
I wanted, no, because originally I wasn't going to not go. It was like, I'm going to just take a little gap year, right? Which is like normal. In Europe, they do that.
Right.
I'm not European, but, they
Did your parents like, listen, we know you think it's a gap year, but we think you're probably not going to wind up going to college, so please don't take a gap?
I think they thought I was going to go.
Oh, they did?
They thought I was going to go.
Yeah. And then what happened? You got a job, you started coding, you saw the internet?
Yeah, exactly. And then it was just like, it was one of those things that it just kept kind of getting pushed off. And then I eventually was like, I'm not going to go.
Right.
But wait, I just want to finish up my last point about what I was saying before. I don't regret it.
Okay,
no.
Good.
But so I think one of the challenges is that, like, especially in today's world, you get thrown into this environment on this, college campus with all that. Like, I remember seeing a whisper where somebody posted that they wished their friends from high school dressed cooler so that their new college friends would see their Facebook photos and think, oh, I'm really cool, right? Like, and this is something that every day we think about these things, like I had some stupid article written about me recently, and instead of me posting it on my Facebook, I'm like, within seconds, like saying, okay, my sister, you post it, then you tag me in it, right? So that I don't seem like the douchebag being like, look at me, I was in Forbes 30 under 30. I'm so cool and important.
Yeah.
And then I'll just comment on it and be like,
it'd be a little bit more baller,
like self-deprecating, like go Team Whisper, like the team, because that's the thing, like, right? So, and it's all about this like curation. Hey, let me present this very curated image of myself, right?
It's exhausting.
It is. It's because the thing is, like, we don't even realize how exhausting it is because it all is on autopilot now. So it's just
I spent the whole weekend. I'm like at Disney, and Friday night somebody's like, "How come you have no women at your conferences?" I'm like, "Oh my God!" The person asking me if I don't have any women at my conferences is the person who was on the diversity panel last year at the conference.
Oh my God!
And I'm like, "Okay, you're looking at 5% of the speaker list. You've been at the event on the diversity panel." And so then I start like defending myself, and and all of these like hardcore diversity like fighters are like, Jason Calacanis hates white people. Jason Calacanis only cares about white men. He hates women. And I'm like, I'm married, I have a daughter, and we have like 6 of our 9 people on the staff are female. Like, and I start defending myself, and I'm like 24 hours into defending myself, and I'm exhausted. It's exhausting.
Totally, completely, right? And I think, imagine we're living in this remarkable time where, for the first time ever in all of human history, people are learning about other people based solely on what you want them to see. Like, that's how I learn about my friend group, right?
Or what somebody tags you as. Like this woman who goes to South Africa and makes a terrible joke.
Yep.
Who, like, I actually know somebody.
IAC PR.
IAC PR person, like, obviously it's a really bad joke, but it's a joke like Sarah Silverman might make, or somebody else may make in a comedy story and get laughs from the same people who attacked her, which I understand context is everything. But I talked to somebody who actually knew her. I think Cara Swisher knew her, and she's actually kind of a really nice person, and she's a little fun, and you would have a great time with her. You'd love her. But they just annihilated that person. Like, game over. Like, that's the end of her career.
Yep. Totally. Right?
I think. I don't know. Maybe she'll come back. Maybe she'll.
Maybe, I think we all need to not take ourselves so seriously.
It is brutal. How do you make money off this thing? Like, this is always the question that people have.
Right?
I mean, I feel stupid asking it because I know the answer to the question.
Yeah.
But I feel obligated to ask it.
Because your audience wants to know. I'm sure they're thinking,
I think they
who's this kid? And,
Yeah,
they
exactly.
raised 26 million.
People expect, I mean, kind of, frankly, you're a little old for your level of success. I would expect you to be like 19 if you have this much success.
I know.
26. It's kind of disappointing that you're 26 and. Like, shouldn't you have like 10 billion pages by 26? You're such a slacker.
I know. Evan Spiegel's like 3 years younger than me.
Exactly.
And like, what am I doing? I mean, it's like, how am I? Yeah.
All right. So
Totally.
tell me, what would be the revenue model
cross-roadian.
for this? I mean, buy tokens or something to communicate with people, templates, what?
No.
Native ads.
Listen. Find me one business in the history of the internet that has ever had 50 million plus users, right? I was going to say 100 million, but 50 million that's ever had any trouble making money, right?
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, right? You know the answer to that. Yeah. So not a week goes by that we don't get hit up by like 10 different advertisers, right? And they all have these like great ideas about, all these different native ads that we can do, like especially in the entertainment industry. Every film marketer, has reached out to us, every single one. Because there's really interesting things as it relates, like if you do a search for the movie The Notebook or Pokemon or whatever in the app,
I mean, if I did a search for X-Men on here, I'm guessing I'm going to see
search The Notebook, right? Like now, but what's very interesting about a lot of the posts is they say things like, I'm a 25-year-old straight male and I love the movie The Notebook, right? Or search The Notebook guy, or that's fine.
Whoops, sorry, going too fast.
No worries. So.
I would have to know what The Notebook is. I feel really stupid right now.
Oh, you don't know what it is? It's have you ever heard of Nicholas Sparks?
No. I'm feeling really. I usually try to. Ryan Gosling movie, got it.
Yeah, but it's.
Is this a rom-com? I'm not a rom-com fan. That's not my thing. I mean, I like Notting Hill. But.
No, it's it is a rom-com. Anyway. The point is that it's a rom-drom.
Rom-drom. Oh my God. Even worse.
So, but the point is that like we see things here all the time. Like for example, like I'm 25 and I love Pokemon, right? Nobody knows I still play with my Pokemon cards. So kind of all of these, like Whisper's all about changing the social norm on things. Hey, it's okay to be listening to Taylor Swift on your Spotify.
Right.
It's okay to be a mom and have a favorite child.
Right.
It's okay, because like we see that every day too. Like I'm a parent with 3 kids and I have a favorite. I feel horrible, right? But this is something that a lot of people feel, like every single day. So
you could see this being really dynamic for an advertiser though, because if they put like the Hunger Games, I just did a search for the Hunger Games on here. Look, pull that up, and it's like it's all Candace, right? Like. And if you just had a pack of all the characters from the new X-Men, Days of Future Present, or, all the Hunger Game characters, and you just had them featured just as like, when you're picking your background image, you could pick one of the Hunger Games thing. They should pay you like $100,000 to put that in there, and then they should pay you $1 for every time somebody uses it. You could do it as a pay per whisper.
Yeah, I mean
that would be a good model. So that's what I mean by business model. We know it's going to be advertising or marketing because people don't like to pay for anything. But is there one? Have you considered that, like $1 per whisper?
So here's actually something else is that we, again, remember that we're very much in this social discovery space as well. So at one point last year, we were actually charging people to private message other people in the app.
You were?
We did over 6 figures in revenue during just in a single month, right?
Wow.
Now,
so that would be like Match.com's model or something?
Exactly.
Like the
so
nudge
like
or whatever.
Exactly. And I think it's very proven that people are willing to pay to do things with people they don't already know. Look at LinkedIn, look at Match, look at OkCupid, eHarmony, like whatever. People pay to do things with people they don't know.
Right.
Now, the problem with a lot of businesses that try and do user-generated payments, between these like pre-existing social connections is like, if you and I are friends on WhatsApp, I may also have you on Kik. I may also have you on SMS. I may even, have you on Facebook here. So like, there's no, which is again why people pay in the social discovery space, because there's that only one channel to reach that person. Right. And that's why you see like LinkedIn InMail, like because I can't find that person somewhere else, so that's why I'm going to pay for InMail, right?
Yeah.
Why am I going to pay for InMail, right? Like, or why am I going to pay to message this girl on eHarmony? Because I can't find her anywhere else. That's why, right?
It's really about, and even for LinkedIn, it's like if you search for CTOs in Los Angeles and you find 200 of them, you could actually go through the process of finding their emails or finding their Twitters, but it would be 10 times faster to just pay the $50 a month.
100%.
Right. So the amount of friction too, right?
It definitely. Right?
So when you raise all this money, the expectation changes of the company. How does it change with this level of investor?
My expectation never changes, right?
Which is?
Well, in my mind, it's like, are we making an impact, right? Like not a day goes by, like search in the app, Whisper saved my life, right? Not a day goes by that we don't see posts that talk about that, right? So to me, like the biggest thing, like how are we changing the way that people see the world around them? Like keep swiping, like, Whisper saved my life, help me save others, someone from Whisper saved my life.
More than once.
More than once.
It's interesting,
Look at this, hold on, go back. A stranger just saved my life. I legit had a blade to my throat, but that one message saved me. Thanks, Whisper, I'm telling my parents I need help. Right?
That's a big deal.
So like that is a big deal. Like this is a really big deal. This is somebody's, imagine her parents, her grandparents, her brother, her older sister maybe, or her little cousin, like, and this is what I show our developers every single day. Like this is stuff that's coming out of your and this is why like every message counts.
And it's not like there's
every
one
minute
of
of
these.
uptime
There's
matters.
A lot.
There's tons.
I wonder if has anybody from the psychological community, the mental health community, contacted you to do a study on the effectiveness of anonymous? There must be a study on the effectiveness of anonymous support for people suffering from, X, Y, or Z. It's got to be huge because, the whole premise of psychotherapy has been that people being witness to your pain relieves suffering, right? Like just having that space.
Exactly.
This is actually like a modern day version of it.
100%, right? Yeah. And so ultimately, like, because when people ask me about bullying, right? And I said, well, let's talk about why is that kid bullying other people, right? Like whenever they talk about why people are bullying other people, it's because they're insecure about themselves, right? This is always what you hear.
Any psychiatrist or something,
any psychiatrist will tell you that, right? And so like, how do you combat insecurity? Well, you show other people that, hey, you are not alone. It's okay to be a little bit overweight. It's okay, like, if your parents are fighting at home because everyone else is just like you, right? So let's get this stuff out in the open, talk about it, have real, authentic discussions, and whatever it is. So ultimately, like, and again, like, we Whisper. We don't just see it about secrets or confessions. It's this communication medium, right? And we think it's going to be something that a really, really large part of the world's population is going to use.
Listen,
we're really excited about it.
Michael Heyward, wise beyond your years of 26. I'm really blown away because I thought, like, honestly, like when I see a lot of these services, I'm kind of underwhelmed when I meet like the founder. But I just think your approach to the mission of the company and also like the adult nature of what this is very refreshing because a lot of people are going like, hey, let's just go rapid growth and we don't have any responsibility. I think that your responsibility first is a really great approach to this. And you're going to have great success. Obviously, you've had great success with it already, but I do think there's something here. Like, I think somebody in these, we have a lot of listeners. So if anybody's in the psychological, mental health community, I really think they should do a study where they look at like people who writing these, like, I saved my life or whatever, find out who they are, if they really actually, Well,
one of the things.
And what if this is like, could be a prescription for people. I know it sounds silly, but a prescription for people might be to be in somebody must have done this, but what a great startup it would be if there was an anonymous support group that you could go to you know, is that like AA Online? Thank you, Gina.
Well, one of
Producer Gina.
the you know, like again, like, and this is all the data that we have is so fascinating because sometimes we do these like little hackathon projects internally.
Right.
Obviously, we're building out our data science team. It's a we have 2 data scientists right now that only focus on data.
How many people at the company?
30.
Okay.
But on the data side, but we're able to learn that, like, for example, I can tell you that in Allentown, Pennsylvania, there are more people that have more bad days than good days anywhere else in the country. Or that in Lubbock, Texas, abortion is talked about more than any other city in the country, right? So there's all of these like fascinating things that we start to learn about.
Yeah.
Because again, like around, you know,
it could be like a factory got shut down in Allentown or something, and like everybody's depressed because
exactly.
people lost
or
their
like
jobs.
why are people like cheating on their tests more at this school? Like what's going on at this school that is pressuring people, right?
Yeah, Cornell.
So it's just a lot of really interesting stuff, and we're trying to make, like you said, make
Sadly,
our
Cornell is
dent in the universe.
It's really cool. Listen, everybody go check out Whisper. You can just type Whisper into the App Store. You're obviously on all platforms. You're on Android too, right? I have it on iOS. And you can follow at, what are you at, Whisper? Do you have at Whisper? You have
Whisper app.
Whisper app. And Michael Heyward, H-E-Y.
That's me, Michael Heyward.
At Michael Heyward on Twitter. I'm assuming you're hiring 1,000 developers right now.
Yes. Anybody who wants to
change the world, and save lives.
help change the world
and save lives,
lives,
and live in Santa Monica.
That's how we
Where's
got.
the office? Santa Monica?
Yeah. That's
so
how we got
pretty
needs.
Dope place.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of the valley. Come down to Los Angeles. A good lifestyle.
Yeah. Please email me directly.
Michael
at whisper.sh.
What is .sh?
And you can just also please copy jobs at whisper.sh.
Jobs at whisper.h. That's a good place to work, I think. You get some of that good stock. It's going to be worth a lot of money. Hey, so what is .sh? You got whisper.sh. Obviously, it's funny, but what is .sh?
It's Saint Helene. It's the island that Napoleon was banished to.
There you go.
Yeah.
Saint Helene. I love those like alternate. You just got to hope there's not like a coup in Saint Helene and like like everybody had What was the one? Oh, LY, Libya.
Yeah, and they all had to pull. Yeah, and
everybody's
the
like,
Syria one too. I remember the that startup Artsy. He had art.sy and they had to pull it out. And it's now artsy.net.
We got to get artsy.com or artsy.net.
Yeah. Well, because the country was like,
DNS routing not
scary
working.
Stuff.
Oops.
Scary stuff.
Better get dying, DNS. All right. Thanks, Squarespace. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Mandrill. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, producer Gina. Thanks Gina. Technical producer Brandis.
Thanks, Brandis.
Thank you. Who else can I thank? I could thank Demont. I could thank Jade. I could thank Emily. I feel like this is like, what was the thing Mr. Rogers would do? He would look through that mirror and he would thank everybody in the, anyway, whatever. It's before your time, kid. All right, listen, we'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.
Thanks.